reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network.
You're logging into your favorite game, grinding out some gear. A couple of points added to your stats, and you have a virtual beer. Max level is pretty cool, but I'll remind you here, my friend. These games are not about the goal, it's about the journey and not the end.
You're listening to MMO Reporter, brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audibletrial.com/MMO Reporter. And by Doghouse Systems. Choose your weapon with Doghouse Systems.
Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish. Each and every little character you've got, no matter what level they're at. Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish. Each and every...
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of MMO Reporter. I am Chris. No, I'm not. You knew that, didn't you? Everyone knew that. This is Bill. Chris is off fighting aliens on the surface of Jupiter, actually. So
is this fever that bad?
It was. That's what was in Twitter. So I'm taking. No, it wasn't. So no, Chris is not 100% tonight. So he is recovering. And in the meantime, you get myself, and of course, you get the fantabulous Harry Hall. Hi, Harry. How you doing tonight? Fantabulous.
Thank you. I'm doing quite well. So I'm happy to be here, and let's make it a great show.
Excellent. So we'll kick it off first with just what we've been doing game this week. I will go first because I've got the mic. But
let's go, damn it!
Oh, dang. Anyway, I kicked off this week. I've been playing actually a lot of Shadow of Mordor. I've jumped into that's a game that's just been sitting there. I never finished it when it was new, and it's just been sitting there taunting me for ages because I know it's a good game. I always liked it, and I just never really got back. I think I never got into it because I couldn't play it during daylight hours.
Why not?
Because as good a game as it is, my computer is in public space in my house, and my very small, very sensitive children wander up and look at what I'm playing a lot. And the blood spewing out of a beheaded orc is just a bit much for most of them anyway.
Yeah.
So it's for all the times that I've been embarrassed about scantily clad women in games, this is another one. It's not embarrassing. It's more like I just don't want to deal with the nightmares that come from it that evening.
And you do have an image to protect. I mean, you don't want to be the dad who looks at semi-naked women and kills a lot. Yeah, I mean, that's another story you want to go over through the schoolyard. Or getting back to you at a PTA meeting, like, sir, we have to talk.
Daddy, why did you have to behead 47 orcs? Oh, I just wanted to, sweetie. Yeah, so anyway, Shadow of Mordor having a lot of fun there. Yeah. The Steve achievement for traumatizing your children. There you go. Anyway, I've been playing a little bit of Guild Wars 2 as well. I'm really in maintenance mode for Guild Wars 2. I think I'm holding out hope for a lot of significant changes in the April release, or their big quarterly release that's going to come up in April, in spite of the fact that everything that's come out about Guild Wars 2 has been about canceling things and reducing and managing expectations rather than promising the moon. So I think in my head, this is not going to be a big release compared to, say, what's going to come in the summer when they're going to resume their living story. But
how do you feel about the whole legendary weapon thing?
Oh, right. I missed that. Initially, I was really disappointed because I'm flabbergasted by the notion that a team of 5 or 6 people, which is what I understood was on the legendary team, had 6 months and couldn't come up with a quest chain and a model and everything for one weapon. Like, I can't even imagine what the effort would be that would cause that much slowdown. Like I can only imagine that that's just a huge time resource management failure in that, and it's really disappointing because that just seems like it would have been. It seems like the kind of thing that should be an easy win.
Yeah.
Oh, the people are clamoring for something. Quick, throw another legendary weapon in there. Create 3 big world collections that you have to do, and give it sparkles. Done.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's not like they have to, and even then, I mean, if you would have to write a WoW style quest with quest givers and vectors and everything, even that I would probably be able to push that out in 2 days.
Well, you'd at least. I mean, I don't know. I don't like to project how much it's going to work, but not having known it. But it just seems really simple. Having done some of the legendary quests or collections already, it's just go here, do this, add an achievement next. And granted, you have to do that like 100 times, but it's not like you're building a narrative. It's not like you're building new zones or instances or anything like that. You're just going to a place and doing a thing.
And the systems are already in place. Exactly. It's basically adding a table to a database. In my layman's eyes, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah, and I would maybe someday when there's a huge retrospective that's going to go on to Guild Wars 2, we're going to get this walkthrough of what it actually takes to make a legendary weapon, and we're all going to have an aha moment that
probably
explains
with
why
blood sacrifices and a volcano is involved. Yeah.
So now that was anyway. Like I said, that's my first reaction. I came around to kind of the notion that we've got that basically this is the boss, like the new boss, Mike O'Brien, he's trying to put a stamp on production there. Like I think there's probably a bit of a narrative that's building up that under Colin Johansson, maybe there wasn't as much emphasis on hitting goals or nailing down production or anything like that, and that there's a bunch of projects that are stuck in limbo. And maybe Mike is there to really just kind of hammer down on that. So I'm sort of hoping that's maybe the case, that this is just him hammering down on one thing, saying, okay, this is BS. There's no way this should take too long. We're just quitting forever. I hope you all feel bad. And moving on to something that we can actually finish. So
that would be the best case scenario. I mean, if time is spent more efficiently on things that everybody will enjoy, then please go ahead and kill the legendary weapons. But still, I can imagine if this is one thing you care about because it's part of your routine now to collect those things, it's kind of a terrible disappointment.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see I think over the next 6 months we're going to see how the Mike O'Brien direction of Guild Wars 2 is going to differ, if at all, from the Colin Johansson era. So anyway, little bit of a sidetrack there. But anyways, Guild Wars 2, still playing it, but like I said, still just in kind of maintenance mode. I have been playing Elite Dangerous. I think I'm actually enjoying Elite Dangerous more than Guild Wars these days. And I found just this sweet little system right in the middle of nowhere that is built perfectly for just chain bounty hunting. Like if you're just in the mood to blow things up, there's a beautiful section of like 3 resource extraction areas that are all right beside each other and within a 30-second flight from an actual base station. Thank you. I don't know why I call it a base. Anyway, but it's really quick for just hitting back and forth. You've got a couple low intensity, one high intensity if you're looking for a bit of a challenge to take on some anacondas and pythons and that kind of thing. And it's just lots of fun, but it's making me regret. Like I'm still flying around in my Cobra that I've been flying around in forever. It's this beginner ship that's just a jack of all trades. It's got lots of storage, decent hard points. It's fast. And I want to get something. I want to get a Vulture that's just got those 2 massive hard points sitting on it for just doing nothing but wreaking bounty havoc. But I can't bring myself to spend the money. But anyway. So anyway, if you want to come out and visit me in HIP 93377, obviously.
Yeah, what else? Yeah.
Where else would you be?
Yeah.
So Anyway, that's been basically my week. How about yourself, Harry? What are you up to?
I've actually shelved Elite Dangerous for now for this very specific reason that I can't see the point of it anymore until I have my VR headset. And I'm desperate to get into the game again, but I'm considering just deleting my character and going from square one once my Rift arrives. Mm-hmm. Just playing the game as new with just the beginner ship and just see where space will take me. And I think that would be an interesting experience from a VR standpoint. We'll get into... Yeah?
The mental image that I've just painted here, this is, sorry for a little window into my soul here, is that you've got this wonderful leftover pasta that you had last night that you can't wait to eat again, but it's just not good enough because you're out of cheese. And you're not going to eat it until you can go to the store and get some cheese because it's going to be amazing with cheese. And
I've put it in the fridge, in the freezer until then, and all will be good.
Yeah.
And then when I take it out, yeah. No, but I can't imagine. Actually, games kind of lose their shine with the promise of playing most of them in virtual reality. I have a couple of specific titles I desperately want to play once my Rift gets here. Elite Dangerous is number one, obviously, and Project Cars is the other one because I'm not a big sim racer. I've played Forza 6 this week, actually just because I wanted to imagine me playing that game in VR. I'm a broken record now, but it's. A game like Forza 6 I like because it strikes just the right balance between game and sim. And I've heard Project Cars is kind of more the sim way of doing things. There's not that much of a campaign there. But to be able to experience that with a VR headset, having the actual spatial awareness of where other cars are and being able to look around. I mean, if you... Anybody who has a driver's license, most people listening probably do. Once you get behind the PC screen and you try to drive a car, you just miss, I would say, about 60% of your field of vision. You can't look over to your left quickly or judge distances. So being able to do that from within a VR simulation, that would be freaking awesome and would make racing much more intense and much more playable. I think it would actually enhance the experience.
Well, especially if you could have something that provides a little bit of haptic feedback, like gloves that add just a little extra vibration when you're pounding on a corner or something like that.
Way ahead of you. I'm actually planning on ordering a force feedback racing wheel for the PC. I have one for the Xbox 360. But I hear a lot of stories that it doesn't really work on PC. You can get it to work, but I'm not sure if the force feedback will work. But I would definitely. I've seen them for as low as $50 to $75 for a force feedback racing wheel, and that's something I'm definitely going to get. I mean, I got my hot ass for Elite, and I'm not ashamed to spend some more money on a fake racing wheel just to bring the illusion to a full visceral experience. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, and very cool.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to and Flight Simulator X, by the way, is also a game that's very VR worthy. There is some professional plugins now that allow you to play the game in VR. All the dials and everything are made legible, and there is even a way of having your checklist as a separate 3D window next to you in the plane. So I'm just okay, never mind. So I played Forza 6. So yeah.
I was just going to say one more in the checklist for games that you can't play until you can do it in VR.
Yeah.
I was actually having a chat with the buddy at work, and Street Fighter Mortal Kombat with the HTC Vive. Is that not built for exactly that? The spatial awareness, the 8-foot moving around and that kind of thing. It's your own squared circle in your living room.
It's a very interesting scenario when your spouse enters the room while you're just taking a roundhouse kick.
I feel like you need to set up cones with like little flashing lights on them that says "Do not enter."
Do you remember when the Wii came out? There was a website called We Have a Problem. .com with people who threw their Wiimotes through television sets and windows and in through eyes of children and
all not in rage, just in
just basic human clumsiness. Just oh wait, it slipped. Oops. Yeah. So I'm imagining that VR will be. I mean, VR having difficulties will be a website.
Oh man, you should get that you get that URL right now.
Yeah, actually, I shouldn't I? I mean, that would be that's gold, especially with the HTC Vive. That for the rooms for some people who aren't as deep in VR as I'm obsessed. The two major headsets right now, the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive, distinguish themselves between two things. HTC Vive is a room scale setup. That means that you have a 2.5 by 2.5 meter space in your room that you need to clear, and the sensors will alert you if you reach the boundaries of that play space by displaying a grid in front of you, so you can actually move around in the virtual space without walking into walls or televisions. And that is a good setup, and the Rift doesn't have that yet. You have a seated experience or a standing experience in the Rift, so that's the basic difference. So once controllers, track controllers for Rift come out, both systems are actually equal in options. Back to the list. I played Sherlock the Devil's Daughter, which is I went to Paris for that. There was this little press get together that we were invited to take a look at the game. Which is interesting, to take a 5-hour train ride to play a game for an hour and then another 5-hour train ride.
So I haven't heard of Sherlock Devil's Daughter. I think I know who the main character is, but
actually, this is a series that's been running for a while now. I think this is the 8th Sherlock game.
Oh, okay.
And they're adventure games. You walk around as Sherlock and you switch perspectives to Watson and other characters to solve cases. And while the setting and everything is Victorian and pretty close to the books, the character is kind of... They made Sherlock a warm, social person with an ironic sense of humor, which is not really what I imagine Sherlock Holmes to be.
And jolly Sherlock Holmes.
And he has a foster daughter to take care of now. I'm not sure that she's the devil's daughter of the title, but she's actually a character, a 11-year-old girl that's living with Sherlock Holmes, and that's kind of... The developers told me they did this because if you would actually play Sherlock as the character is written, you would feel a distance and you would not agree with some of the choices that Sherlock would make, and that would diminish the playing experience. And my conclusion is, why make a game about Sherlock Holmes then? Just create another detective that you want to play, or it's not. But it doesn't matter. The game is not. It's not bad. It's not good. I'm not sure what I think about it. It's just... This
is same kind of vein as Telltale style games and that kind of thing?
In a way, you have some moral choices to make, and those are interesting because you can make a mistake as Sherlock, but the game won't tell you. So you can arrest the wrong person, and that will affect the rest of the story because there's several cases. That's all very interesting. But there are some adventure game mechanics in there that it's more like old school. Coincidentally, I recently started playing Back to the Future, the original Telltale Back to the Future game, which was before their breakout hit with The Walking Dead. And Back to the Future is much more a traditional adventure game, picking up stuff, doing dialogue trees, and Sherlock the Devil's Daughter is kind of like that.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a more serious version of the LucasArts adventures that you're playing.
Okay.
So it's okay. And Back to the Future is fun, by the way.
Oh, I loved. That's one of the few I've actually played all the way through and finished. That was tons of fun.
Yeah, no, they have a very good Michael J. Fox impersonator doing the voice of Marty, and by the way, the voice of Doc is awesome as well. I'm pretty sure they didn't get Christopher Lloyd to do that,
No.
but they got some good voice acting in there, and I must say the big chunky cartoon characters were a bit jarring at first, but that's Telltale. Their engine basically sucks. They really need to update their engine quickly.
Yeah.
And finally, I'm staring at literally currently staring at the cover of Dark Souls 3, but I'm afraid to put it into my PlayStation.
I was going to say I'm afraid to continue this conversation.
Well, I'm afraid. Yeah. Well, I played the Souls game, a couple of the Souls games. Only thing I didn't play was Bloodborne, which is from the same creator, but it's the same. But I've played all of them. I never finished any of them because it's so damn frustrating, and I am not sure that I want to take that amount of punishment. So maybe I should just try it, just to say that I'm one of those guys who couldn't get through.
You just go in and with the assumption that you're going to die and embarrass yourself over and over again. You could only have a little bit of fun once you get to that point.
That's true. Maybe I should live stream it.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Have an audience. That would make it a lot better. That was actually my decision once I was started. When Fuller House was on Netflix, the new version of Full House, which is terrible. I not only decided to binge watch it, but I live tweeted it. Because if you're doing something that embarrassing, you should have an audience. Maybe we should well, that's what I was that's my list for this week.
Okay, cool. And just to touch on it, because we're recording on April 7th here, which just happened to be Rogue One trailer day. And life is not all about MMOs. It's mostly about MMOs, but not all. So people who are afraid of Star Wars spoilers here, who haven't seen the trailer yet, just skip ahead for a while now. Chris will put some music in there. You'll be able to find the podcast again. But what do you think, Harry? What do you think of this trailer?
Oh, it's so good.
I know, right?
We have a new trailer for Rogue One. And this is... Actually, most people seem to have forgotten that The Force Awakens was just part of the deal. Mm-hmm. Force Awakens was the first part of the new trilogy, but that's not all the Star Wars we're going to get. We're going to get one Star Wars movie every year for the foreseeable future, and they will alternate the actual Star Wars saga with standalone stories. And the first standalone is Rogue One, a prequel that matters.
Mm-hmm. And now you have a theory why this one matters.
Well, aside from the fact that it looks amazingly cool, it's set before A New Hope. It's the story of how the plans. Basically, it's going to be the story of how the Bothans died. This is what we're going to watch, and so to get the plans for the Death Star, and we're introduced to a new character. I've forgotten her name already because it's an awesome Star Wars name that I'm desperately scrolling back because I made a note of it somewhere. She is called Jyn Erso.
Jyn Erso. It is a good Star Wars name.
It's a very good Star Wars name. And Jyn Erso is apparently, but we can never tell from those trailers, but she's apparently the main character. And my theory is, and this is the spoiler part, I think she's Rey's mother.
And we talked about this a little bit before the show too, and it didn't even cross my mind until you'd said it, and now I can't get that out of my mind. I can't see any other possibility at this point.
She's the right age in the timeline. She has the same affected British accent.
Mm-hmm. She's got the same backstory, being abandoned as a young girl alone on a planet. It's got the same questionable gray character that might be a good guy, might not be a good guy. You never know. I mean, obviously, I think what we're seeing, and I really hate to project too much on it just from a couple minutes worth of trailer here, but I think we're seeing a whole lot of parallels and homages and that kind of thing between movies and very common themes between the movies that are really pounding people over the head. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. I think this is we kind of talked about this before. This could actually be just in terms of the day one hype beater. This could be as good as The Force Awakens.
I'm secretly kind of, based on what I've seen, I kind of think it could be better because there are, as you said, the expectations are different, and they are oddly, I think they are more free to do new things with this, even though it is wedged very tightly in a timeline that we all know. It's a very established bit of Star Wars lore, but because they don't have the Force Awakens really had this weight of proving that they could do an actual Star Wars movie that fit in the trilogy. And I'm not going to do any spoilers on the Force Awakens, but this one, I think they can have more fun with it and more cut loose with different avenues because they're not tied to the Jedi lore. They're not tied to the whole established George Lucas stuff in the same way. You know, it's like they don't have to. They can just show that different stories are possible within the setting.
Well, and what the Force Awakens had to do was really recover from the George Lucas versions of everything.
Yes, exactly.
That was very much, it was a one shot to say, okay, Star Wars is excellent. We can make it excellent. And they had to throw everything into the forget episodes 1, 2, and 3 because 7 is just going to be awesome. That's not, this one isn't tied to that at all, especially if they're sticking to their standalone movie theory here, where this isn't going to turn into its own trilogy, or it's not going to turn into this ongoing thing that's going to carry on for years to decades. That this is a one shot, one story it really allows for a lot of creativity that maybe they couldn't do if they were depending on making 3 more of these movies.
Well, and that's another thing you're saying, and that's something that I'm very happy about, to actually see a movie that has a beginning, middle, and end within its playing time.
Without a cliffhanger at the end.
Yes, because we know the end. We know we know many Bothans died to bring us these plans. We know this. So anything else, I mean, they can fill in the blank. But it's one of the things that I was actually kind of frustrated. This is the Lord of the Rings trilogy, followed by the Hobbit, Star Wars. It's not fun anymore to me. I mean, I'm used to Netflix binge watching. If I want to see the next part, I hit play. I don't hit the next phase in my life. Yeah. It's not like I have to be 2 years older to watch the next episode. This is frustrating to me. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of interesting too. It's almost like a rebound effect, and that we're totally going off the rails here, people. I'm terribly sorry and terribly excited at the same time.
But I love it.
when you go back to when the Lord of the Rings trilogy came out, there'd been a really long time where movies were typically just standalone. You didn't have series of movies. You might have had sequels and that kind of thing, but you could tell they weren't put together as try to tell one big story arc, but rather it was 3 stories with the same characters all taped together.
You could watch Die Hard 2 before Die Hard 1 and not have any problem following anything.
Exactly. Yeah. And now we went through probably a decade and a half of long storyline movies where you would wait a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years between films in order to carry on a storyline that clearly hadn't ended yet. There was no end, like you mentioned. So I'm almost wondering if we're gonna start to get to the end of that need now that people can actually binge watch and kind of fill that continuation need. That maybe getting the kind of the standalone story notion or trope, whatever you want to call it, back maybe we're heading back towards that. I would like that.
It's interesting, but I understand studios trying to build franchises and invest money into a world they can use over and over again, and I like that. But I think this is the middle ground. We still have this shared world and this marketable, lovable universe that we all want to be part of and see, but still give us just one story. And another story, and another, because the Han Solo movie is around the corner as well. I mean, oh my God, I'm 11 years old again. Now we got Rogue One. Next year we're going to get Episode 8. The year after we're going to get the Han Solo, the young Han Solo years story. It's God,
what a time to be alive.
And VR. I mean, if 11-year-old Harry would have known that the future would be like that.
Episode 8. Episode 8, 3D VR, maybe. No, we're not going to go back into the VR thing, because I've seen some things you wouldn't believe. Have you seen I'm going to anyway. Have you seen the Star Wars VR experience? No.
Okay, this is so cool. This is something for the HTC Vive that Lucasfilm actually developed. They are doing They have this special studio to explore these new media, and they made an experience where you use the Vive remote. You stand on Tatooine, and you are the apprentice of Luke Skywalker, and you are handed a lightsaber. You see the Millennium Falcon, the actual model they use in the film, but then downscaled a little bit, but at scale, land in front of you, and you use the lightsaber to deflect laser bolts from stormtroopers who run at you. This is the Star Wars fantasy. If I would show this to my 11-year-old nephew, his head would explode, and mine, because this is just too cool to be true. And the bastards of Lucasfilm who set it up, they showed a demo to a journalist, and they actually turned on a huge fan once the Millennium Falcon dropped down, so he actually was feeling the wind of the thing coming down. That would be amazing.
Oh, that's glorious.
Yeah. So this is the promise of VR, actually standing there on Tatooine or wherever. Never mind. Rogue One, good. Let's do that.
Thank you for your patience, everybody.
Okay, maybe we should head to some important messages. The first of which, we would really like to thank our Patreon contributors, people who help us basically keep the servers running and allow us to make this and other podcasts for you all to listen to. And we will mention, you can actually go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/MMO Reporter, and be a contributor and help us. And we would especially like to thank Patreon supporter Andrew, who helped us out by contributing and supporting the show. And thanks to Andrew, among others, we are able to continue. So, Andrew, thank you.
Thank you.
Talk to you and make you understand. You can't out-threat the tank and just pew and think you'll last the fight and anger me. Wipe the group and never clear the rain. More than
So in the news this week, we're going to start off with Blizzard getting litigious. Boy, it just seems like Blizzard's making more lawsuits than games these days, don't you think?
That's not that difficult, actually.
No. Anyway, Blizzard has ordered a cease and desist to the people maintaining the Nostalrius.
Nostalrius. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with that. The Nostalrius server system, which is a vanilla WoW server, or a kind of a pirated server that's been running World of Warcraft in its release state. So basically the state it was in from 2004 up to about 2007, prior to all the expansions, and giving people just a haven of going back and playing World of Warcraft in that old state. It was a completely community run server. that the owners claim they never made any money off of. They never accepted any donations. The only thing they ever accepted was money basically being filtered into a direct link that paid for their hosting bandwidth, that kind of thing. So the money never actually hit their own hands. And they had a team of about 30 volunteers working near full-time hours just to keep everything up and running. So it sounds like a very cool setup and everything like that, except very, very clearly outside of or out of bounds from Blizzard's copyrights and what they intend for World of Warcraft and all that kind of thing. So they officially have been told to shut her down. The shutdown date is April 10th, or end of the day on April 10th, and there will be no more. What do you think, Harry? Or were you a Nostalrius player?
I was not, but I do see the appeal, and I think Blizzard is a fool that they don't have a progression server similar to the EverQuest ones that they had. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't know that, you probably do, but EverQuest, the granddaddy of MMOs basically right now, has a ton of expansions, and some people were very nostalgic about the beginnings of the game, and that's why they rolled out progression servers, which they started out as basically vanilla EverQuest servers as early as they could possibly can without breaking anything, and then adding the expansions at a later date unlocked by the community. So if people would defeat certain raids and met certain standards, then the server in its entirety would progress to the next expansion pack. And a thing like that, I think, would be perfect for World of Warcraft. I think a lot of people would be very interested to see what WoW was like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And it's not I don't think it should be a surprise anyway that this is an idea that's been floated to Blizzard before. But Mike Morhaim's actually come out and said in the past that no, we've looked into this before, and other games that do this quickly go out of business. Which
it's a curse.
Are we getting, is this tea leaves kind of stuff here? Or because EverQuest is still carrying on. I think a lot of people would say that EverQuest is, if anything, the progression server is probably helping to keep what's left of EverQuest's desiccated remains moving, rather than pushing it towards shutting down. It seems to be a bit of a boost for it.
I think that Blizzard is very entrenched in its own philosophy that they are iterating to make things better. Mm-hmm. And I think they genuinely feel that vanilla WoW isn't an optimal experience anymore. I think they've learned so much in tweaking and changing their game that they feel that it would be basically rolling out a lesser version of the game they've been crafting for so long.
Mm-hmm. And I could see that point of view too, but I know that there's thousands of people out there who would certainly love to play again, especially if it was a progression type thing where not necessarily where you were locked down in release mode World of Warcraft,
with all the queues and everything, simulated
with
queues.
The queues and hunters killing everything that moved and that kind of thing. But rather something that progressed through, because people want to build up to the big, like everybody, the Encourage raid or event in World of Warcraft is still legendary for what it was. When people talk about those kind of world building events or community building events, Encourage is the standard that people still bring up. How many years later? We're probably almost, or not probably, actually a decade later.
Yeah.
It's so I don't know. I feel like there's something there, and maybe they're being cagey. You never know, but they certainly hammered down on that. The thing is, they didn't even do this fast. Like this Nostalrius server was running for over a year before they actually entered their cease and desist. And it's not like this was a tiny enterprise too. They were saying they've had 800,000 players go through this quote unquote server, with currently about 150,000 active players. So people that have logged on in the last month or something like that. So, I mean, it's not like this was tiny. This is as big as, I mean, there's a lot of MMOs that wish they had those numbers these days. Wildstar.
I was going to say, if you do the math quickly, and I just did, if you take 150,000 active players and multiply that by $15, you are looking at $22.5 million worth of subscription fee that they're theoretically not getting because of this server. Now, obviously, the case could be made that all those 150,000 people would not have been playing World of Warcraft if they hadn't been able to get into this Nostalria server. But still, it is, even if it's a quarter of that, or if it's 10%, that's a sizable chunk of cash that Blizzard is looking at that they're not getting for work that they actually did.
Well, the other thing that kind of came out, the Nostalria's team actually did an AMA on Reddit as well. And what came out of that is that apparently a significant number of their community actually has active World of Warcraft subscriptions anyway. So, I mean, I think that point is fairly moot, that Blizzard probably, I mean, they're certainly not losing anything from those people unless they're hoping for a second subscription or something like that from one person. But, yeah, I mean, people who are paying for the game, who like World of Warcraft, value that early experience enough that they're willing to step out of the game that they're actively paying for today and jump into the old version.
It's an amazing amount of people, by the way. I mean, the more I think about it,
I wish I could verify that a little bit more, because they do seem like amazing numbers, but that's what's floating out there. And if MMO Reporter is anything, I mean, this is better than our usual baseless speculation. This has got
somebody else's baseless speculation.
Exactly, yeah. What could be better than your own baseless speculation? Somebody else's.
We are the echo chamber of MMO news. But it's as you said, WildStar and other games, that's 150,000 active players. That must be salivating prospect. But I agree that it's a weird. I understand Blizzard's point of view, but they could have been cool about it.
Well, and they still could be. You never know what they have brewing, but if I were to bet dollars, I'd say that this is the end until the next one pops up somewhere.
Yeah, and then you have this Fight Club rule. You don't talk about this server and whatever, because there are thousands of these out there. There are so many private servers. I personally don't want to participate in those, because I'm kind of the mind that if you want to play a game, you pay for it. And if you don't want to pay for it, there are tons of free-to-play options that you can do. I mean, there is no reason to. It's not the case that Blizzard doesn't have any money, but obviously they do. But still, that's not a justification for circumventing what they've built and profiting from it, and personally profiting from it, because these server guys, I'm pretty sure they're legit and not making 150,000 players. If each of them would donate $1, then God, and if they wouldn't have to, I'm going to run a private server.
We're in the wrong business here, Harry Hall.
Yeah. Maybe we could get 150,000 people support our Patreon campaign. Anyway,
I'd have to upgrade the MMO Reporter Ferrari if we did that. Jeez.
You have a Ferrari? I went for the Porsche 911.
Yeah.
That's the MMO Reporter car of choice.
Yeah. Well, the European version.
Obviously, yeah.
Obviously. Yeah.
Let's move on to a different story. I've been chatting about VR a bit at the top of the show. It's not all roses and sunshine, unfortunately, in the VR world. The two major VR headsets for PC, the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift, are running into some incredibly frustrating delivery and shipping issues for people who ordered the headset very early on. First, Oculus Rift went eerily quiet because they had this launch date of March 28th, and this was going to be Rift Day, and everybody in their rational mind knew that 28th of March wasn't the day they're going to get the Rift. Everybody knew, but everybody hoped. and nobody got it. Except one guy in Alaska who got his Rift personally delivered, hand-delivered by Palmer Luckey. And apparently he didn't have the PC to run it, but that's a different story. So it turned out Oculus Rift deliveries were delayed, and Oculus wasn't talking about it. People were basically doing numerology. They were analyzing their order number and trying to figure out at what time at January 6th their order went through and at what point in the waiting list they were. And people were going nuts on Reddit. Absolutely, completely apeshit crazy. This is completely... Yeah. And... The Vive team, the people who ordered the Vive, were basically sitting back smugly, grinning, saying, "Oh, you poor Rift fanboys, I feel so terrible for you not." And then the Vive had its troubles because HTC Vive is supposed to ship starting April 5th. And many European Vive customers all of a sudden noticed that their order was cancelled, which is very frustrating. If you were one of the first people who ordered one of these things and you were looking forward to getting it on either April 5th or 6th or whatever, at least quickly, and then you get a message that your order is cancelled. And it turned out there were a lot of difficulties with processing credit cards, and Vives are not getting to the people who order them either. So you can imagine the response on the Rift team for people watching this whole thing happen. It's an interesting thing to follow. The thing that's, to sum it up, it's almost like, Times Square, where the ball is dropping at New Year's Eve, then everybody's counting down, like 5, 4, 3, and then the ball stucks at 3. And everybody keeps chanting 3, 3, 3, and the thing doesn't fall down for another 3 months. That's what's happening here.
Yeah. I think that was the Simpsons episode, actually.
Actually, it's an episode from Mad About You.
Oh. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's the New Year's and Mad About You. This is trivia going, but the Mad About You episode, that's where it happened. So Rift Day and Vive Day has come and gone, and many people just haven't had their equipment yet, and it's frustrating. And especially, at least Oculus finally came out of their lair and told everybody that on April 12th, people would get an update on their shipping status, and that doesn't mean that's the shipping date. Everybody who's waiting for their Rift will then know how long they will have to wait for. Mm-hmm. And Vive is just basically trying to deal with the payment issue. People who bought it with a PayPal account had no trouble. People who bought it with a credit card are having issues in Europe. So that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Virtual reality. Yep. It's virtually here.
Yeah. Now, this is, I'm reading into this a little bit myself. The Vive, apparently, the troubles that are happening with the resourcing there are being traced back to Digital River, which is the payment processor that HTC is using in Europe for that. And apparently, particularly the first 24-hour orders for the Vive are the ones that are especially having the problems there too. So, but Digital River is a funny one too, because Digital River has been around forever. They are not new to online fulfillments. In fact, I think they were probably one of the first to ever actually start taking your money online. Because I know they were the very original, like when you were first ordering Microsoft software off Microsoft.com, Digital River was the one that was fulfilling that. And this is going back to like Windows XP type era purchasing. But so interesting. I mean, I obviously HTC should be vilified for this because they deserve it, but it's their partner that apparently has dropped the ball on that.
Well, the Oculus Rift part is also and Oculus has come out with a statement that some deliveries of parts were delayed, and they're not going into any specifics. So people are actually basically speculating what kind of parts would be delayed at such a late moment in the process that it could delay the delivery of Oculus Rift, and people are genuinely speculating that it might have been the box. And speculation threads about the box kind of are like the swallow discussion from Monty Python. And it is, I understand why people go nuts, because if you are invested in this, if you order a piece of equipment that is, in the case of the Rift, $600, and in the case of the Vive, $800, then and it's something you really genuinely want with every fiber of your inner 11-year-old being, then it is frustrating, even if you're a grown man, to see this not happen. And then it's very easy to get very frustrated about this. By the way, Oculus have made good on some part of it, because shipping has been removed from your bill if you were one of the pre-orders that was affected. I have got free shipping now for my Rift, which is pretty generous, because it's a 42 euro charge that's been taken away from my bill. So, well,
and considering it's worldwide shipping and distribution, it's all, their release dates are all tied together with North America and Australia and everywhere else where it's being released. So yeah, shipping pretty much has to be a pretty significant cost.
People in Australia paid, I think, more than $100 for shipping. So,
well, they were also paying, I think, $1,200 Australian for these devices altogether. So
yeah, but it's an amazing amount of money that they're now not charging us. But it is kind of the least they could do at this point. Because they want to rinse away this bad taste. The thing is, virtual reality could be the biggest thing ever to hit entertainment and computer games and MMOs and everything that we hold dear as geeks. But you want it to be a good experience from the get-go. If this fails now, we're going to be set back for another 20 years. Because in the 90s they tried it and they failed because the technology wasn't here. And if now they fail because of any other factor, this could set us geeks back another 20 years before we have our actual holodeck-like fantasies. And I want my holodeck.
Well, and I'm hoping it's just small issues that 10 years we're going to look back on and barely remember. But I mean, you think about the pricing and the huge uproar that came up over how much these devices cost in the first place, and now the fulfillment and the delays and how long it's going to take for the hardware to reach people, how long is it going to take for the software to start to become available, and there's still lots of questions. And so far, even the questions that have been answered, people haven't liked the answers as much.
Yeah, and you're right. People will forget about this, just like they forgot about the launch of Anarchy Online. And
yeah, they forgot about it a little bit too early because they never bought it in the first place. But anyway,
you were there, weren't you, at Anarchy Online?
I was. I played in the what you could call the beta and the release, and the period of time where you spent more time with the servers down than up, and it was legendary. I'll always remember that.
Yeah, but you still play the game, right? I mean, it's the biggest MMO at the moment. That launch didn't matter, did it?
Oh, is it still running?
I don't know, actually, but is it?
It is. I think it moved into free to play or semi-free to play mode.
They did do an engine upgrade, didn't they? It supposedly looks like a game from actually 2012 now.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're almost it's
almost up to date.
Century, yeah.
I'm going to play that.
It would, again, that's something for a rainy Sunday afternoon just to see what happened.
Yeah, just like I would like to play Dark Age of Camelot one day.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pressing all your nostalgia buttons. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I could feel the time travel just starting, sitting in my chair here.
Maybe I'm going to just start with some Guild Wars 2 this afternoon because I haven't played it for a long while. Anything else to add on the VR bit?
Not too much. I'm looking forward to some good news for VR. I'm hoping to see we're going to start seeing the hardware reviews, the experiences and that kind of thing rolling through soon as reviewers start getting their hot little hands on the hot little hardware. So I'm looking forward to that. So
Oh, you can already dive in because all the major tech sites have their reviews up now.
Yeah.
So go to The Verge or Engadget or Polygon or whatever. They all have Vive and Rift reviews. All reviews seem to agree that the Vive is just a teensy bit better because of the room scale experience, but Rift is more comfortable for a long haul and has better software.
Yeah,
So,
I'm holding out a little bit longer, waiting for ours to do both. And like ours has their HTC Vive review up, but I don't think they have their Rift review up. I'm looking for Tech and PC Gamer. There's a few sites that I kind of want to get their piece from it before. I don't know. Engadget always just it just seemed like popcorn reviews at Engadget. That's when you want to look to see if there's any emergency problems right on day one. But if you actually want a good review, you hang tight until the other guys finish.
Actually, I'm a big fan of The Verge.
Oh, yeah?
Many of the better Engadget guys went over to The Verge, and I think they have some good reviews.
Oh, okay.
I honestly sometimes go to Yahoo Tech just for the David Pogue videos. I like him.
Of course, yeah.
Because
you see, I don't even think about Yahoo anymore.
Nobody does.
As soon as somebody says Yahoo to me, it's like the signal to change the subject. My mind is instantly gone somewhere else.
It's instantly 1997. Yeah. If you're talking about, and this is I was saying this to a friend of mine. I said I read this on Yahoo Tech. He said, what the hell are you doing in Yahoo Tech? I said, David Pogue. He said, oh, okay. Because then everybody understands.
Yeah.
He's the only reason to go there.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should move on to our sponsors, I think.
Yes.
First, we like to invite you to go to audiblepodcast.com/MMO Reporter to get a free month of Audible. Audible is the premier publisher of audiobooks. It is a fantastic service that has the most amazing books with great narration for you to listen to on the train, in the car, or while you're running like I do. It's really a very great way to experience the books. Some of these narrations are actually can make an average book absolutely great. If you go to audiblepodcast.com/MMO Reporter, you'll get 1 month free, and that means you get one audiobook for free. Yours to keep forever. If you cancel your subscription, you still get to keep the book, but please don't cancel, because if you keep your subscription, we can do a little bit more on the podcast front, because hey, another one you should visit if you need a new PC because you are interested in VR and you want to upgrade your system. Maybe you should just go for an entirely new computer and go to doghouse.com, because Doghouse makes the most amazing custom-built PCs ever. You can go there and use the coupon code MMO Reporter, and you will get a free 120 gig solid-state drive with your purchase. Using a solid-state drive increases the speed of your system immensely. So this is a very good deal. So go to doghousesystems.com and use the coupon code MMO Reporter for a free 120 gig SSD drive.
Fence, ready or not. Dumb ways to die. So many dumb ways to die. Dumb ways to die. So many dumb ways to die. Follows not for AFK. Sell all your gear, you don't need it anyway. Lich King disc, it'll be your doom. I wonder what's in that room.
And welcome back. Just one more story we wanted to touch on here. Crowfall has hit another major milestone in their development. They've started a new alpha phase that they're calling Siege Perilous. Now, Harry, I know you've been kind of peripherally involved in our Crowfall discussions in the past. Of course, Chris and I both do Crowfall Reporter on this same channel with Matt as our other co-host there. Have you sniffed around Crowfall very much?
The last time Chris talked about it, I was actually kind of interested, but then I realized it was fantasy. And I'm bored with swords, so I'm not doing this anymore. I am in a sci-fi mood this decade. Yeah. This decade, I think. I don't want fantasy MMOs anymore.
Yeah. Well, maybe by the time it comes out, you'll be in the mood for a
Maybe.
Fireball or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's I'm actually pretty excited about this. This is where they're starting to add destructible structures. They're adding their first range class to the game, which is the Ranger. Chris has actually posted some video footage of him playing the Ranger, and it's almost approaching. It's not a first-person shooter. It's almost like playing a third-person shooter character. Like you actually have a reticle that you have to aim your arrows with and everything like that. The mechanics of the Ranger look really cool, but the big thing is the siege mechanics, and it actually shows different strategies for starting to tear down walls using siege engines, using special character abilities like siege fireballs, sappers, stuff like that. There's a lot of really cool mechanics that are starting to go into it. So if you're at all into Crowfall, or if you've been following that at all, start looking for those streams. Chris is in the alpha right now, so he gets he's playing in some of these playtest events that are coming up, and he'll be putting streams up about that if he's ever back on our planet again. But you can keep an eye on it there. I know for my part, this is one of the, like, for the lack of any big AAA titles that are really catching my attention or in the MMO space, this is one of the ones that I'm really excited about coming up in the next year or two. So it'll be curious to see how they kind of build a kind of a pure PvP experience or pure PvP goals system into it. It just seems like a very focused development and everything like that, but so far it's got some really good signs. I've been enjoying following it. So anyway, keep your eyes peeled.
Not so good news for En Masse Entertainment. This is the people behind Terra, and Terra is the game behind the behinds of women who wear way too short skirts and then go up ladders. That's not what the game is all about, but that's basically what you see when you see somebody else play it. Terra is actually a pretty good action RPG where you kill big-ass monsters, and they actually call them big-ass monsters in the game. Or BAMs for short, which I find enchanting. Anyway, they are letting go a lot of people, apparently, and En Masse actually released a statement saying the game industry is a fast-moving, ever-evolving and changing business which requires companies to occasionally reassess and realign to serve the needs of the business and its community. En Masse found itself in this situation, and the staff reductions were part of the shift in late March to better position the company for the future. We're deeply sad about having to let some of our staff go, and we'll do our best to help them move on. We will continue our presence as a Western publisher and support our games, including Terra and the upcoming Battle Plans, a unique RTS hybrid, which will serve as the company's first cross-platform project. So basically, they are not killing Terra, they are not stopping publishing, and they are publishing a new game, but still they're letting go a lot of people, apparently, which is obviously mostly sad for the people affected. So let's hope these people will find new jobs as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and sadly, this is happening a lot with Carbine and Daybreak and others as well. I feel like I need to go back through our show notes history and look for all the March, April stories and see if we get more layoff stories happening than the rest of the year, because I kind of suspect that's actually the case. I think that financial year end is turning into just murder season for being a game developer.
Yeah, and I also think we are still looking. We're at the tail end of. We had an MMO boom. I think the peak was about 4 years ago, when did Soto come out. And I think that's and everything is winding down. In every studio that's doing MMOs, they are winding down.
Yeah, well, everything's getting a little bit more narrow focused. People aren't looking for that big monster, do everything in our game and play only our game. And people are starting to have more focused experiences. They're looking at the one thing that their game is actually good at and trying to focus on that, whether it's boob physics or whether it's PvP or whatever.
Well, it's the new WoW.
Yeah. So, anyway, very sad to hear it. I don't, I don't like hearing about layoffs, but it's a curious phenomenon, and I feel like there's probably more under the hood there if you were to dig a little bit deeper. Speaking of the golden age, or the end of the golden age of MMOs, Star Wars: The Old Republic is releasing a new chapter in their story quest. This is
lost you.
This is
I
another.
lost your connection. You just.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were just getting on Star Wars. Anyway,
no, maybe you could 3, 2, 1, because I don't know if the recording hitched or that I just lost you because I didn't hear you.
No, recording is still counting up. So I'll go. I'll double back and I'll just start it the whole story again.
Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. So speaking of the golden age of MMOs ending, Star Wars: The Old Republic is releasing the latest chapter in their story series, Chapter 12, called Visions in the Dark. This is going to be advancing the story quest as well as being a kind of a feature patch where they make a bunch of general changes, class changes, stuff like that. But so if you were waiting your turn, or if you're looking to catch up to a certain point in the story, you can either resub to catch up to the story quests, or carry on. Like what I'm doing is I'm building up a character again, going through the original story quest, which again, I've said it a few times, but the Old Republic plays really great as a single player game. Yeah,
I've heard.
Yeah. So I mean, if that's all you're looking for, if you're looking for an MMO, there's a dozen that are better at least, but single player, it's hard to beat. Single player MMOs, I'm going to go ahead and call Star Wars: The Old Republic the cream of the crop, right up there with Guild Wars 2. Speaking of cream of the crop, Overwatch has released another 3D trailer. So this is Blizzard doing exactly what they're excellent at, which is making 3D animated trailers. This one is based off of a villain character called Widowmaker, and it's called Alive. And it's so fun to watch. If you enjoyed the first one with the ape character, Winston.
Yeah, Winston. Gorilla.
This is in the same vein, and it's very good. Even if you have no interest in Overwatch, I recommend just checking out the trailer, because it is Blizzard doing another good job of that.
Are you still there?
I am still there. Are you still there?
I am now.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to abrupt end that, but
I didn't know what happened. 3, 2, 1. And World of Warcraft has reached its inevitable end. Because I have to explain this. There is this player who reached the level cap of level 100 by playing with a Dance Dance Revolution dance mat. Once a game has been finished by playing on a Dance Dance Revolution dance mat, the game is over. Because then every possible variation of gameplay has been exhausted. There's no reason to play WoW anymore. There's nothing to be done, nothing to be seen here. Move along.
I feel like there's another challenge to be had, though. What about steering wheel and pedals?
I'm pretty sure that's been done.
You think?
But if it hasn't been done, it still wouldn't be as ridiculous as playing 100 levels of World of Warcraft. Can you imagine raiding like that?
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Apparently, it took the guy about a month to run through that.
As in literally.
Yeah. And good for him. He's probably in great shape for it, too. I mean, if you're looking to...
No. Not good for him. No, sorry. Bad player. Bad player. Because this is the kind of headline that you will see on every gaming site. This is your 5 minutes of fame. It is a stupid challenge. I'm sorry. This pisses me off.
I'm sorry. I'm for this. I'm pro DDR pads for World of Warcraft. I think this is a great challenge. I think it's creative, it's fun. And like I said, I bet you he's in great shape. He's got those huge quads on him now.
You know, I've never been one of those people who said if you play a game too much that you don't have much of a life, because I think gaming are a form of entertainment and art that if you spend 100 hours a week reading, nobody says anything about this. So playing games doesn't mean you have no life. This guy has no life. I'm sorry. If you decide to play an MMO for a month using a Dance Dance Revolution dance mat, you have way too much free time on your hands.
Or a Twitch channel you're trying to sell. Anyway. Anyway, so last story of the night here. It has nothing to do with Dance Dance Revolution pads. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to a game I don't think we've mentioned on MMO Reporter yet.
I want to see somebody play World of Warcraft by using the SingStar microphones, just singing, singing the song singing "Eye of the Tiger," and that will bring you to level 100.
Every octave switches your ability bar to the next ability bar. So, oh yeah, I could see that.
Sorry, I was interrupted. You said
I do want to see that. Actually, I would be impressed. Maybe not to level 100, maybe to level 10, because I think you'd lose your voice up. Anyway. Hero's Song, Smedley's new game. I don't know that we've really touched on this game too much on MMO Reporter in the past. It piqued my curiosity, so you're going to get it here. So this is John Smedley with his new game that he's building through Pixel Mage Games. He's partnered up with Patrick Rothfuss to do world building for Hero's Song. It actually ran a Kickstarter in February that was canceled within 6 days of being started, which is a pretty inauspicious start, but apparently they're fully funded. They've got a publisher and they're on board and set to release in October 2016. MMORPG.com did a quick interview with John Smedley talking about how the development of Hero's Song is going, what it's about. It's actually a 2D pixel art game, which I thought was a little unusual considering it had John Smedley and Patrick Rothfuss attached to it, but we'll see. Anyway, just a little bit of new game awareness for you. So if you could check it out, we'll have a link to the article in the show notes, which will link you to the site and blah, 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 blah. You can pre-order because you know how we love pre-ordering here at MMO Reporter, or you can wait till the game comes out in October.
Yes.
Wait till October.
I actually am not so surprised that it's a 2D pixel art game, because usually when these developers come from big projects with huge budgets and big 3D arts, they want to something simple that takes them back to when they started out with games and what made it fun for them. And doing something with pixel art usually is a lot. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a lot easier than dealing with 3D engines and stuff.
And when I say pixel art, I mean, it doesn't look bad by any stretch. It's actually quite sophisticated art for what it is, but it is what it is too. Anyway, yeah, I'm putting it on my list of things to keep my eye on. So if you're into that kind of thing, you can do the same. And speaking of doing the same, I don't even know how to finish that. Speaking of the end of the show, we're pretty much at the end of the show. Bill, will you read off the contact info for the MMO Reporter Network? Oh, I'd be happy to, Bill. Oh, thank you for asking.
I'm not here anymore. I'm just sitting
here to help.
Yes, thank you, Bill. Bill, take it to Bill.
All right, to Bill. You can visit our website over at MMOReporter.com to check out the central hub of everything MMO Reporter, including our aforementioned Crowfall Reporter or Guild Wars Reporter or the Happy Hearthstone. Ton of other podcasts out there to look at. Check it out, and everybody will thank you for that. You can send us an email mmo.reporter@gmail.com. Let us know what you think about the show. You can visit us on Facebook as well, and at facebook.com/MMO Reporter. You can tweet at any of the MMO Reporters. You can either tweet at MMO_Reporter to wish Chris a get well soon if you like. You can tweet at Harry Hall to tweet at Harry Hall. That's Harry's. Anyway,
we are easy to confuse. I know
we are. Yes, we're only like 4,000 miles apart or anything. It's like practically the same thing. At Harry Hall for Harry Hall, at MMO Bill for yours truly. You can give us a call at 616-666-6778. If you'd like to leave a voicemail, you too can be on this high-scale podcast production just by leaving us a voicemail at that phone number. Please do. We'd love to hear from you. Visit youtube.com/MMO Reporter Network to check out the various YouTube feeds, including the Crowfall videos that Chris is starting to put up for Siege Perilous. You can visit us over on Patreon, patreon.com/MMO Reporter, if you're looking to help us keep the lights turned on and throw a few dollars our way to help with some hosting costs and everything like that. We would very much appreciate it, just like we very much appreciated Andrew's contribution to that. Thank you, Andrew, and the other 28 people that have helped us out on Patreon. You guys are all fantastic. And finally, if Patreon isn't your style, you can head over to MMOReporter.com/support for other ways that you can help drop a quarter into the MMO Reporter piggy bank. And that's that. Contact us. We want to hear from you.
Yes. Let us hear what you think, and we will tell you where you're wrong. That's a service we provide free of charge.
Yeah, I was going to say we would never do that, Harry, but no, we would do that, and we would do it over and over. Probably.
And actually come back to the same thing.
But we do it with a smile on our face.
And yeah, no, I'm not going to. No, that's good. Yeah. Thank you. Hello.
Thank you for keeping it clean, especially at the end of the show.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Harry. You're a joy and a pleasure to spend Thursday evenings with and Friday mornings, depending on where you are.
Yes, it's the same here, and I don't know if it is Thursday evening or Friday morning because I am tired. It's
right on the line. Nobody really knows. It's a mystery. I don't know that we'll ever figure it out.
It's just like the delivery date of the Oculus Rift. Nobody knows.
We're assuming it's something, but we don't know what.
Actually, this is one of the emails that somebody got who mailed support when his Rift would arrive, and the email said, "We can't tell you. It either has shipped or hasn't shipped yet. One of the two." This is an actual email they sent out.
Rodiger's shipment. That's glorious. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. We will be joining you again next week. We hope to have Chris back, but we may not. Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you all in game.
Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish. Each and every little character you've got, no matter what level they're at. Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish. Each and every little character you've got.
Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Don't forget to check out all the other podcasts at MMOReporter.com or by clicking on any of the links here. And please check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MMOReporter. Thanks, everyone, and see you in game.